What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Killshot MMA podcast for UFC 290. It's International Fight Week. Alexander Volkanovski, the UFC featherweight champion, and I'm going to tell you by far and away that the featherweight GOAT, taking on the interim featherweight champion, Yair Pantera Rodriguez. I am Sniper MMA. Happy to be back with you guys. With me, I should say as always, but it's my recently returned to the podcast. Soon to be with me as always is Monk down there in the bottom, and the boss, the fantasy football geek, over top right of your screen. Guys, you ready for International Fight Week? I was there last year, came home with fucking sick case of COVID, but this week I'm just going to Jersey. Just gonna hang out in Jersey, watch the fights, be a much more relaxed time. Good card.
Can easily get a sick case of COVID at Sansu's house.
I mean, I could, but I don't think it's going to be. I know where I got it to. I was on the plane. I was on the plane going, I'm getting sick right now.
It's always that.
It was awful. I have some hot takes on this card, especially GPP wise. Not so much maybe in terms of picks. Got a couple dogs, but fights to target. There's a new breakdown article up on the DFS Army site for VIPs in terms of fights to target. I'll tell you that I think in the main card, I think one fight made it into the top half of my fights to target. Every fight except the women's fight is favored to end inside the distance. The main event minus 125 to inside the distance, second lowest on the card. This is going to be bananas, and I'm ready to break it down with you guys.
I'm going to just add one thing in, and Monk, you might even have stats on this, but this is the first time I've ever seen a card where DraftKings just skips a bunch of salaries and went like super intensely expensive with the fight. Like we don't have normally it's 82, 83, 84, and it's linear in the way that DraftKings will do salary. Has this ever happened before? Like I don't remember.
Oh, well, I don't think I haven't seen. I mean, occasionally they'll skip an 83 or an 84. They'll skip one or the. It's rare that I've seen it skip two of them this low. Like they're just giving us all the highest possible salaries here.
Yeah, that was there we go. I got that. Kevin is frozen right now. Hopefully he rejoins us here in a second. Yeah, they'll skip sometimes, but they skipped a bunch because there's so many huge favorites. So I'm going to stall for a second to see if Kevin gets back on, but also it's a good place for the promo to hit the subscribe button for the channel, hit the like button for the videos. International Fight Week. I should get some extra views. I'm going to throw this. I'll keep it low still. Hit the like button, 100 likes, and make a comment. And I'm going to go in, and I'm going to pick out one of those comments and send you a DFS Army t-shirt. So got to get to 100 likes, and we'll randomly draw somebody from the comments. So really, you need to comment as well. I'm going to leave the space open here for Kevin a second. I'm sure he is just restarting. There's the message over on Discord. He said, I'm going to tell him we're still here, and we are going to keep on rolling along. First up, at a display here, it's the main event. That's what we're going to talk about. Alexander the Great Volkanovski. He's minus 400, 9,200 on DraftKings, taking on Yair Pantera Rodriguez, plus 300. He is 7,000 on DraftKings. Monk, you start us off today. Who you have for this fight?
Yeah, I'm going. My pick's going to be the great, Alexander the Great Volkanovski here. I think, whether or not you believe he's going up to lightweight permanently after this, usually I'd kind of fade people that are kind of looking past their current opponent, but it doesn't sound like he's that type of fighter. He would really want to end his featherweight reign with a win, I'm sure. So I'm not really expecting that. But I think he's extremely cheap this week, to be honest. 9,200. This guy's made optimal lineup 4 out of his past 4 fights, including the loss to Islam Makhachev, in which he scored 62 points at a ridiculously low salary of 6,700. So I think this will be fine. And like you said, this one is very low percentage to go finish inside the distance, minus like 122 on the aggregate. I think that's good for DraftKings. I think that's exactly what Alexander Volkanovski needs. 5 full rounds of just, piecing up Yair Rodriguez. The guy scores 121 per win in his 5-round fights. It's 115.95. He scores almost 9 points a minute inside the distance. And this is over 115, almost 116 UFC minutes. So I like Rodriguez here a lot as well. But, just because he's so cheap at 7K, if this goes 5 rounds, he could score well, possibly see another loser on the optimal lineup. this card. I wouldn't be surprised. And but yeah, I'm picking Volk, and I think he's got the highest DraftKings ceiling basically on the entire card.
So I'm going to agree. First, I'm going to disagree with you, and then I'm going to agree with you. To me, the numbers are deceiving here because he's been in there with Max Holloway 3 times. That is ridiculous pace, volume, scoring, and it's 75 minutes of Max Holloway fight time. Yair Rodriguez is going to be a whole different animal here in terms of I don't know what Yair's going to bring to the fight. I'm expecting actually Volk to kind of control the pace. I don't think it's going to be the same type of output. I do feel pretty good about Volk for a win. Because there's a couple dogs I like on the card. I'm going to play with cash build on the VIP pod tomorrow, but I don't mind the stack and cash game. Seem fine with the odds to go to decision, especially based on the rest of the card. But there's other dogs I kind of like that I might sneak in for straight up win potential. I'm going to actually start building on the pod tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. But this fight is just not very high up there because I think there's more upside. Some of these ridiculous prices. Yes, Bo Nickal, he's 600 more, but we're going to talk about some of these fights. I think there's more upside the rest of the way. And what's interesting, I think everybody's going to flock to Volkanovski Rodriguez. Increased ownership. I see same potential, if not a little bit less in terms of being on the optimal in my mind, just inside the distance odds, pace, and some other things that it makes me want to be underweight to the field in GPPs, but I am taking Volkanovski straight up to win. It's hard to pick against him on any planet at this point. Like how do you pick against Volk? Yair, I don't think he's clearly not the deadest dog on this card. He's really good striking. He's got power. I mean, he could hit subs off his back. We saw that against Ortega. It's possible. It's just you can't pick against Volk at this point. So that's my breakdown for this fight. Let's go ahead and let's bring up fight number 2, the co-main event. Brandon Moreno. He's minus 190, 8,700 on DraftKings. Taking on Alexandre Pantoja, plus 165. DraftKings price is 7,500. I can't stop laughing whenever I look at this fight and people forget Pantoja's nickname, but if you look at it's the baby assassin or the assassin baby versus the cannibal. Like he's Pantoja. I mean, on paper, he's going to eat a child. And that's actually exactly what I'm picking to happen in this fight. I am on the dog in this one. And let me display one of these narratives. And somebody else said something similar to this on Twitter. Oh, we got Geek jumping back in. Geek, any thoughts on the main event? We just wrapped up the main.
I think just a very simple Volk is probably winning this fight. And, for the most part, with the weird salaries, the way that they are on this card, there is definitely some interest here in just playing Yair just for he could win, but more so for the cheapness and the 5 rounds and just kind of the way that you need really low priced fighters on this card that do something because of how expensive basically everybody is. So I think I'm definitely interested. I'm stacking this in cash, first of all. Like in your safety lineup, you might as well just play both sides. But like unless Volk just makes a weird decision to only strike with Yair, which would be I didn't hear what you guys said, but like that would be a weird call for me because he should have a massive grappling advantage. That's how you beat Yair, really. I mean, Yair has lost to Frankie Edgar, like that kind of fighter over his career earlier, but nonetheless, that's where he's lost in the past. I think Volk is the GOAT. I think Volk might be the GOAT.
Agreed.
You're not losing this.
All right, we'll circle him back here to Moreno Pantoja. I'm taking Pantoja in this one. So this is a dog I think you can play. And I want to get to that. I've heard so many people on Twitter. Yes, Pantoja has beaten Moreno twice. I'm counting the tough fight. People are like, well, Moreno is so much better now. Pantoja's worse now? That's the part where like, yeah, Pantoja has evolved too. I've been a guy who shown he has had Moreno's number twice as an underdog, like it. Moreno, yes, he's been the champion. Great. Has looked really good. But it's not like he's been unbeatable dominant champion. It's a reason he fought Figueiredo 4 times. He was losing against Kai Kara-France before he got a 3rd round knockout. Why am I not playing Pantoja at dog money? There's one of the I think 3 dogs I'm picking on this card to win straight up. I like Pantoja. We got 5 rounds to work with. The only reason I'm interested in any Moreno is a middling 8K salary, which we are desperately in need of this week. So you can play a little bit. I don't think the double stack is in play this week, and it's one of those. I'm actually gone back and forth which one of the two fights I would prefer to stack. I think it's the main event because I'm picking the favorite, and in a stack like that, if you're picking between two, you want the favorite to win, because if you're eating 9,000 in salary into loss, it's just worse than taking your 40 points in the underdog kind of floor building win. But I think if you think Volk stomps him out real quick and you want to stack this fight, I don't think it's the worst play in the world. It's a stackable fight as well. Geek, what do you got for the co-main?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. So I think Pantoja for me is the most important underdog play in your cash lineup, for example, by far. Right, that is the guy that you want. He's beaten this guy not once but twice, and you said it. You said it perfectly. Yeah, I get it. Moreno has definitely looked better since his stint outside the UFC, and he came back and he looks great. But Pantoja has been training too. Like, he's not getting worse. So I like the odds on this fight. When you take a look at, I guess it's +1. It depends where you look, but about 170, +170 now on Pantoja. The price point at 7,500. Kind of reasonable for against those odds. There's takedown upside here. I like Pantoja. I would pick Pantoja to win, and I agree with you, though. I think the side that you don't absolutely need is the I think you need one side or the other of this fight, probably, but you don't absolutely need Moreno in your cash lineup. I think it's the Pantoja side that's the critical part of that lineup. And, again, thinking about the 2 5-rounders, yeah, I mean, I could make an argument for stacking this one over the other one too, and just not playing Yair, because I think the underdog will win, but I haven't really thought that one through that hard.
Agreed. Monk, who are you on for the coming?
I agree, and it's going to be, unfortunately, one of the higher-owned underdogs on the entire card. It's Alejandro Pantoja for me personally. Some interesting pure DraftKings stats here. Per win, Alejandro Pantoja's average salary when he wins is $8,633. He is over $1,000 cheaper than that this week. Meanwhile, when Brandon Moreno wins, his average salary is just $8K, and he's $700 over that. The other interesting thing is when Pantoja does win, his average value in those wins 10.78, and like I said, now, and that's a great value, almost 11x, and now we are $1,000 more cheaper than that. Only going to give him the opportunity to increase his value by quite a bit, actually, at this price. So I like him this week. Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to like him, so you're going to have to either give him the big fade if you're on the Moreno side, which he's not too expensive, like Sniper said, right in that mid range that we're desperately looking for, or you're going to have to go way over the ownership, in my opinion, on Pantoja, because it's going to be high. I mean, what are we thinking? 30% minimum? I mean,
probably 30. Yeah, 35%.
35. Yeah, it's going to be higher than that. So he's going to be the dog of the week, no doubt. There are only a few of them, but personally, I want him to win. I need some parity in this division. I'm sick of, I like Moreno, but I'm sick of this Moreno Figueiredo. It feels like it's been 5 years of this, and I want some fresh blood in there. Plus, I'm rooting for the guy named the Cannibal, 100%. So give me Pantoja, and I think his DraftKings upside's better. Last thing I'll quickly say, Moreno's 3-1-1 in his last 5 when he does win 5-round fights. I should say 3-1-1 in 5-round fights. 92 points per win. That's not going to get it done this week with 28 fighters.
Yeah, with a lot of inside the distance props, high inside the distance props. All right, let's go to the third fight on the card. Robert Whittaker. He is -400, 9,100 on DraftKings. Dricus du Plessis, +300, 7,100 on DK. Geek, you can start us off with this one.
Bobby Knuckles. Love him. You know what Bobby Knuckles does? He beats everybody not named Israel Adesanya. And that's what's going to happen here, right? Dricus, we've been waiting for the opportunity to sort of fade du Plessis. One of the best things that du Plessis does, he's got good grappling. He can take you down, averaging almost 3 takedowns per 15 minutes, high volume as well. But nobody's taking down Bobby Knuckles. Okay, he's got an 84% career takedown defense, and this guy has fought, some grapplers along the way. That is a real number established against real opponents. So Whittaker, I don't think Duplessis is going to take him down. At the same time, I think the real question here is, so I'm on the Whittaker side. Whittaker, I believe, would win this fight. I think the odds are pretty spot on. He's minus 400. There's not much to really worry about there. The question is, will Whittaker score enough to justify his high salary on this card? And I'm going to tell you, to be honest, as much as I love Bobby Knuckles, he's not like a priority play for me in above 9K, because as much as Duplessis always seems to get tired, he just hangs in there. So I kind of think this fight, even though it's minus 190 to end inside the distance, I think the sneaky could actually go the distance here. And if it's a finish, I think it might be too late, like a third round finish, where I don't think that's going to be enough, because Whittaker just doesn't do enough of the things that score well if he's not knocking you out.
Yeah, agreed. I shit on this card a little bit. This fight on my VIP article for that reason. Like, I think Whittaker's going to win. I don't see him scoring a ton. The only thing that saves it a little bit is I do think, because you have to look at path to victory. Duplessis, to me, his only path to victory is the early blitz. He absolutely comes out like a house, like a wild man. Bobby Knuckles can be hit. The way Duplessis wins is probably an early knockout. That's his path. And if he gets, if he finds it, he's going to be on the optimal. So I'm not willing to hit the X button on Plessis, especially because once you get below him, it's under 7.1K, it gets real ugly. You're going to want to roster the shot on Duplessis, or you're going to take a stab at Val Woodburn and Terrence Mitchell. No, I'll take a stab on a guy who at least, is top 15 of the division, and maybe he catches Bobby Knuckles. Probably doesn't, but better shot than guys below him. And his path to victory has the nuts potential. Whereas I can argue later somebody like Denise Gomes, who's cheaper. Even if she wins, I don't think she'll hit the optimal. Even if she pulls off the big upset, it's hard for me to justify that. So that's my only interest in Drekas. Monk?
You guys broke it down perfectly, in my opinion. I mean, I could just echo what you said, but I agree. I think it's Whittaker, and I agree with Geek too. I'm hoping, anyways. Here's how I'm playing this fight. I'm hoping Whittaker wins. It goes to decision, or like you said, late finish. Duplessis will be higher owned because while both of these guys are undefeated in 3-round middleweight fights, Robert Whittaker 6-0, Duplessis 5-0. Whittaker is averaging about 94 points, just under 95 per win. Again, like Moreno, that's not going to get it done this week. Whereas Duplessis, if he does win, 108, which is decent. But what I'm banking on is this goes to decision or late third round. Duplessis can somehow score 30 to 35 points, maybe even 40 if I'm super lucky, at 7,100. And he can do a little bit for me in the lower end of the GPPs, since, again, I don't think there's a ton of dogs this week. Whittaker I like for cash. I think it's probably fine, even though he is a bit too expensive. You can probably bank on a win him about 10xing. So if you're comfortable with that, that's cool. Love Whittaker here. That's about it. I like Duplessis a bit more for GPPs and Whittaker more to win and for cash.
That number seems about right, like the 10x 9,100. So you're talking about a 90. That's what I'm thinking too. This doesn't feel like, it could be a 120. Like anybody could shock us with the 120. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it feels like this is where, like the Vittori win, he barely scored in that one. The Cannonier win also barely scored in that one. All decisions. But like even with the finish, I think you're talking like a 91-ish type of score.
Yep.
All right, we won't let Monk off easy on this one. We'll make him do the heavy lifting and go first here. We got Jalen Turner at minus 260, 8,800 on DraftKings. Dan Hooker plus 220, DraftKings 7,400. That picture is deceiving because Dan Hooker is bleach blonde. So Monk, you got to break down the numbers, but you also got to break down the hairstyle. What do blondes do in the UFC? Elvis Brenner just pulled one out for the blondes.
That's true. Let's see. We've got Dan Bronx Hooker this week. He's got his hair blonde. He's got his back tattoo. If he comes out here with Oliveira on his back, I wouldn't really be surprised. So, I don't know what's going on. Some say midlife crisis. Some say it's just fun. I guess we'll find out Saturday. The bottom line for me is I'm targeting this fight. It seems obvious. I mean, we've got Jalen Turner, who's a scoring machine when he wins, 114 points. Guy's a 6'3" lightweight tarantula, a very, very appropriate nickname because with his arms and his legs being so long, he can absolutely smash you from anywhere. 92 bonus points per win. Are you kidding me? Like, Get this guy in your lineups immediately. And what are we at? $8,800. I think there's some good possible value here. Also, I'm going to play some Dan Hooker, even though I think he loses this fight. And if he is going through some sort of mental midlife thing, then that's even worse for him and better for me as a Jalen Turner backer. But I will have some Hooker as well. Turner has not looked great when it comes to certain aspects of MMA, specifically wrestling. So we'll have to see what kind of IQ or game plan, rather, Hooker brings into this one. But the pick's Turner, but the fight overall, I will be pretty heavily targeting, I think.
And Jalen Turner fought an international fight week last night, and I cleaned up on his quick win. Yep.
Beautiful.
Quick win there. I don't know if he gets it done that quick here against Dan Hooker. Still, though, what's really interesting to me is I actually think somehow he's going to go kind of under-owned in this range because I think people are going to want to get to the, a Moreno or a Volkanovski or pay all the way. I feel like Jalen Turner is going to go a little bit overlooked in this one, and it became, I think, on the main card, this is my favorite fight to target. But I'm going to hold you to. There's a lot of good fights to target. I need you to tell me when there's not a good one. I'm not going to let you off the hook and say you're going to target all of them because it's a problem.
This is my favorite so far.
I'm surprised.
Minus 200 inside the distance, but I think this is the sneaky one. When the cards get this big and the pools get this big, game theory goes way up my ladder in terms of how I'm approaching things for GPPs.
I'm surprised. So both of your combined love for this fight is surprising for me because neither one of these. So listen, both these guys score well. Dan Hooker's been getting knocked out a lot, right? So one might think like if he's going to lose, and Jalen Turner can knock you out. He's got the long limbs and all of that.
I think of his last 6 fights, Jalen Turner's gone to the decision one. I think both of them in their last 6 fights have each seen one decision each.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, I don't know if I want to cut Hooker honestly some slack or not. He's gone up against Islam and Dustin and Chandler. There's a loss in there, or I think there's a loss in there. Yeah, I mean those are good guys to be. Arnold Allen is pretty decent as well. The Arnold Allen one was the one that you're like, ooh, is he declining, right? Does he have a chin left? And I don't know that, right? His chin might be gone, but he's gone up against some really, really good guys, and Jalen Turner is not quite yet someone on that level. I think he's in the middling category for me in the UFC. I don't have Jalen as an elite tier fighter. The loss to Mateus Gamera, close, but like they're in that like outside of the top 10 zone for me. So number one, I think Dan Hooker is one of the live dogs on this card. I don't think Hooker can knock out Turner though. Then that's the problem. Like his method of win is probably a 3-round decision. In my mind, I don't really think he's the guy that's going to knock out Jalen Turner. I think Jalen Turner's winning. He's winning by knockout, right? But when does that happen? Again, the good thing about Turner is he's lesser priced. So in that sub 9K range, if he gets the finish, that's probably he's one of the cheaper fighters on the favorites on the card. As weird as that is, because again, there's very little action going on below like 8,600. It's like not much there. So you're kind of missing. They're skipping so many salary spots here that it jumps down from Turner to there's Ribovics, and then it jumps at 85 down to 82. Where's 83? Where's 84? Where's 81? Where are they, Monk? We're forced to play these guys.
They're just gone. Exactly.
Yeah, so I like him for that reason. I think in the 8K range, if Turner wins, he's going to get that finish, or he should win by finish. I actually think if this goes to decision, it can go either way, and I could see Hooker definitely winning this fight. So I think I will not be including Turner in my parlays because it feels like a parlay buster spot. If Hooker's chin has rested enough to where it can hold up, and I don't know how to predict the chin's not going to hold up. Like if it holds up, I think he could win this fight.
Yeah, I don't think we get to the dogs and picking straight up, but I don't think he is the worst dog play at all. Speaking of the worst dog play, Bo Nickal minus 2,500. Yeah, minus 2,500. That's ridiculous. 9,800 on DraftKings, taking on Valentine Woodburn, plus 1,200, 6,400 on DraftKings. I don't want to spend too much time. Look, Woodburn, if you're curious, he's physically strong. I think he's like 7-0. He's physically strong, super raw. He needs to land a big bomb as Nickal's coming in. Don't think it happens. play Nickal where you could fit him, but man, that's a lot. I think I want to start with Monk for this one because this really comes down to 9,800. What can we do with that? You are the numbers guy. There's no fight breakdown to be had here. If Woodburn pulls off the upset, whatever psychopath played him at 2% is going to win. It won't be me. But how are you building lineups with this ridiculous number, Monk?
I am just gonna skip over this one. Like, there's no reason. There's no reason to play Woodburn. And by skip over, I mean I'll probably have. I mean, maybe like you said, 1 or 2% Woodburn, but that just seems like a waste. You know, Nickal, maybe 10%. Like, this is way too expensive here. And what did he do in his last fight? He landed 1 significant strike, 1 takedown, and then he spent the time, which of course he would, fishing for that finishing position, which he achieved, and then he finished the fight. You know, that's just what you want to do as a fighter. But for DraftKings, that scored 100 points. He landed 1 strike in like 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, are we looking at a sub? If I'm not looking at a sub 1 minute finish, I don't care about the rest of the fight, really. I don't think he's going to be a high volume striker, even in ground and pound. So I'm going to take chances here. And yeah, I like Maddalena way more at 97 than 98. It's going to be real tough to get this dude in my lineups.
You just nailed it. I'm just going to. The last fight tells the tale. That's exactly what I expect. Like, that's what you expect. 1 takedown, grappling, finds a submission at some point. If he does it within 60 seconds,
which he could,
which he absolutely could, but it's not that
or
easy.
The other worst case scenario is he spends 4.5 minutes of control time with little pitter pat strikes. You can get 115, 120 that way if you get it at the very end of the first round.
But he doesn't do the pitter pats. He does not do the little love taps.
He's going to evolve.
I mean, he would have to evolve. He doesn't do it. So I'm saying, if he doesn't finish in 60, how much do you want to bet? And by the way, there's even a scenario. So this is where you're right on the 10%, Monk. If he finishes in 60 seconds, it's really hard when somebody gets that bonus for them not to be in the nuts, because now you're talking about a 130, and that is a very, very quality score that's hard to beat. But this guy doesn't do the love taps. I love me some Bo Nickal. Don't get me wrong, but this card is loaded at 9K with all kinds of 100+ point guarantees. So there is just not much, you know, I would say this. People think it's less risky to pay all the way, guaranteed to win. I say it's more risky because you're actually paying here for a 60-second finish, which could happen, but it's really hard to submit someone, especially Bo Nickal being a grappler wrestler. Like, it's hard to submit someone that quick. It could happen. He would submit me, I would say 1 second, maybe 2. But this is a guy who is an MMA fighter who isn't going to allow you to just climb on his back and take the neck within 5 seconds. I think it's too risky. So yeah, you could full fade this. And if you're not full fading it, Monk, you're correct. Like 10% maybe. Yes, he's going to win. I will not have any of the underdog in that one. By the way, the prop on this one. So just to understand, the over half a round prop, which is the only time I've ever seen the prop as 0.5. That is the first that I have seen that, but it is -170 to go over 2.5 minutes. So that is a first for me. I've never seen that prop even available.
I'm going to take a quick break here before we get to the prelims at the end of the main card. Make sure you click the like button, click the subscribe button. We've got all kinds of link in the description, discount codes, all the other stuff. One I'm not going to put in the description. There's a different one down there. But for the summer, got Sniper 50. It's 50% off. I'm not publicizing that. If you're listening and watching, you get the bonus 50% off. Go pop that in there. Join us in DFS Army and Discord and all the other great stuff.
Wait, Sniper, is the MMA subscription 50% off?
I thought we were doing across the board Sniper 50.
I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe we'll. All right,
Ooh.
Maybe we'll hook it up.
Ooh, maybe I just
MMA, guys. Yeah, if you're like to sign up for MMA at DFS Army, you get the domination stage, the projections, the optimizer, the cheat sheets from Monk and Sniper and Vince and Gino and Eric, the cash sheet. We have a lot going on, and a Discord where we're talking fights all week long, and we're talking fights from a DraftKings perspective, from a betting, all of it. So you're part of the community. And let's hook up the Sniper
VIP pod earlier. I know you didn't watch the VIP pod last week, Geek, because you were on vacation, but I pretty much, you can't give away lineups, but I went through a few different lineup cash game options. I left the last spot blank, and there was pretty obvious one I liked the most, and that one swept across the board. I think I went 39 for 40 in head-to-heads. It was free money last week. Just by all you had to do last week was avoid Bruno Ferreira in cash games, who was, I don't know why he was 60% owned in cash. That was wild.
That's crazy. By the way, that shows you that the fact that fighter would be 60% owned, and I didn't even know that, tells you there is still edge in cash games for MMA DFS. And obviously, I used cash lineups to get to the MMA championships and have stupidly abandoned the approach for the final, which was a horrific disaster of a decision. And then afterwards, I'm like, why didn't I just do what got me here? What an idiot. And now I will. So now when I get into this next MMA champion, I'm using my cash lineup all the way throughout.
I by the way, even though I picked Strickland, I finished second in the qualifier. I had the same lineup that Strickland finished second. If a boost wins, I get my QC.
Oh, you know what got me last week? BSD. I had I just didn't have BSD, and somebody actually, I was in the qualifier as well, and somebody had, I was looking like I got it, and then somebody got the Benoit
Saint Denis. Anyway,
got me. Won't make that mistake again.
Speaking of not making that mistake again, this will be the last fight of the career of Robbie Lawler. He's the underdog here for his last UFC fight, plus 220, 7,300 on DraftKings. Nico Price, minus 260. He's 8,900 on DraftKings. I can't start the numbers for this fight. Numbers be damned. This is about feelings. Robbie Lawler fading off into the sunset. Geek, you start us off for this fight.
Listen, you know what? This is another underdog. I know it's going to sound crazy. I know Robbie's old. This is another underdog that I am interested in this week. Nico Price is fine, but this guy has a piled up injury history. The durability is a legit concern, but more so, he just doesn't fight his style. Like, this is stylistically, this is a winnable fight for Robbie Lawler. Price will give him a brawl. And and listen, do I trust the chin of Robbie Lawler to hold up? No, right? You gotta have exposure here to Price, because Lawler can get knocked out at any moment. He is super old and all of that. But his weakness throughout his career, and if you look at his if we go back through his losses, and if we throw away the Barberena loss, which I don't know, we kind of got to throw that one out, because if you look at Magny,
he had moments in that fight. He had good moments in that fight.
He was looking good early on, and he faded, right? But if you look at Magny, Covington, Ben Askren, and RDA, and that group of losses, those guys were all grapplers, and I'm telling you, he looked good. Like, when he was striking with Askren, not that anybody else wouldn't look good, but he was whooping him up in the striking department. Even Magny had to use his takedowns to get the win. So that's not what Nico Price is going to do. They're going to duke it out, and you need underdogs on a card like this. Am I betting? I think this fight ends inside the distance, probably. And if it doesn't, it's too bloody, like face bloody. Like, it'll be an awesome fight. If this goes to decision, I kind of think this would be a fight of the night candidate. Just like bloodied, battered, the two of them. Robbie Lawler going out in his career, taking the gloves off, all bloodied up. But
licks him before he puts him down.
Yeah, I mean, there's not going to be takedowns. No one's going for a takedown here. This is going to be brawl. They both have good metrics as far as their strikes per minute. Let me pull it up here. But both of these guys, yeah, I mean, Price landing almost 6 strikes per minute. The Lawler numbers are lower because he's always getting grappled by his opponents and they're slowing him down. But when he's able to stand and bang, he is throwing tons of volume out there. So you seem to be nodding, Monk. You're on board with this?
I am. At first, beginning of the week, I wasn't. I was thinking Nico Price, but the more you think about it, it's just what you said. It's the injuries on Nico. I almost said Kevin Lee. Wow, interesting how that kind of relates here on Nico Price. And he's a younger guy. He's like 30. Well, I guess he's 33, but he seems like he's the same age athletically as Robbie Lawler here. Robbie Lawler looked good in that first round against Barberena. This dude was throwing heat. He landed a couple. Barberena's chin has improved, it seems like. But he definitely landed some heat, and Niko Price is capable of taking said heat. So I would be shocked, frankly, if this one goes to decision. I'd be really shocked because in my head, it's Lawler in the first round or it's Niko Price after that. I just think somebody is going down here. Somebody's going to get TKO'd, and I'm going to put my money on Lawler just because of, like you said, the injuries. I don't trust Niko Price really, and a ton anyways. He has been finished in the first round. Both guys have been finished in the first round in this weight class in 3-round battles. But the salary range here is so crazily wide that it's got to be Robbie Lawler. It's 8,900 for Price, and it's 73 for Lawler. He's going to go in a ton of my lineups this week, and I'm hoping I rarely play retiring fighters, but Robbie Lawler is a different beast, and against Niko Price, anything could happen. So I think there's a chance here.
There is definitely a chance. I'm with you guys in terms of great GPP fight to target. Have to play some Robbie Lawler because Niko Price is going to give him the brawl. Both guys can be hit. Both guys can get hurt. Both guys can finish you with one punch. The reason why I think pretty much everybody's picking Niko Price is, one, it's hard to roster retiring fighters, even though I am repping my team Zeroni shirt here, and I'm picking Price, but I'm rooting for Robbie Lawler. I want to see him go out on top. And look, the reason you pick Niko Price though is he's somehow has less miles. He's more durable still. Both guys are wearing out. There's going to be a day, the way Niko Price fights, where a jab puts him to sleep and the chin is gone. And maybe it's tonight, but this is going to be a wild, fun fight. Great GPP fight. I playing Lawler is not crazy at all. One of the true, it's stereotypical, but this is a fight to target both sides of. This is not one to get cute. This is highly volatile fight.
Yeah, I was going to say, to add in the Price. I mean, you got to play Price as well, because exactly what you just said. It goes to round 2, and it's probably like this. The most likely actually outcome, the way this probably will go down, is exactly the way the Bam Bam fight went down, where round 2, Lawler comes out, he's tired, and he just gets knocked out, and that at 8,900 will produce a high enough score that if you didn't have Price, like that will get Price to the 100 plus points range. And you need that at 8,900 on this card, because again, I'd love to play Bo Nickal and all those guys, but you can only really, you can't do it. So you've got to play these guys in the 8K range. And Niko Price is absolutely going to be in the nuts if he wins in the second round, which is where he's probably going to do his damage.
There's also, it's worth mentioning, Niko Price can get takedowns. He took down Cowboy Oliveira. Like, it's possible. If you guys to go back a little while, but I remember, for whatever reason, when I was watching tape, like the George Sullivan fight, he cut a couple of takedowns. Like, he's not a guy who never shoots. He could get hurt from Robbie earlier and just like, fuck this, I'm going to take you down. And he's so aggressive on top, he can get Robbie out on top. It's not impossible. Not likely. No. I think he'll give the veteran the respect this kind of guy Niko Price is, but a few different paths for Niko. Jack Della Maddalena, -900. Not even the biggest favorite on the card. You're a bitch, Jack. You're only 9,700 on DraftKings. Take it on Josiah Harrell. That's the best picture I could find of him. There's just not a lot out there. He's +600, 6,500. Look, Josiah Harrell's actually okay, but this is another situation where just how much Della Maddalena are we playing? Can he get the finish early? I think he likely does. He is a legit striker. I'm looking forward to seeing him tested for real when somebody doesn't pull out of a fight against him. It's also interesting. What really actually speaks to me is really interesting. Guys like Bo Nickal and Della Maddalena, why you should think they're both real. This is International Fight Week. This is the biggest card of the year, especially Bo Nickal. That's the main card. Now, maybe the Nickal spot is maybe the UFC is protecting him, but here, Jack Della Maddalena, nobody else wanted to step up and take on this challenge and potentially get a ranking. Nobody wanted to do it. Fighters know. They want no part of Jack Della Maddalena, especially on short notice. So he's the play. It's how much do you play? I've been tossing back and forth who I should play more. Is it Nickal? Is it Della Maddalena? Because at least Nickal's going to wrestle. He's probably more likely to get an early finish because Della Maddalena could just take technical for a round and a half. And I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up. And It's honestly giving me nightmares. Monk, what do the numbers say for it?
Well, that's a good breakdown. I'm obviously picking Jack Della Maddalena. He's one of my favorite. I don't even know if you. I guess we'll still call him a prospect since if he would have beat Sean Brady or even gotten after Sean Brady, we could probably drop that prospect title. But we'll keep it for now. Obviously, he's the pick for me. The question boils down to this for me: if you have a choice between these three, 9,800 Bo Nickal, 97 Jack Della Maddalena, and 96 Tatsuro Taira, who are you going to play? The stats say historically. The answer is Maddalena, and it's not even close. Bo Nickal, obviously, very small sample size. He scored 100 points.
I have a really hot take.
Yeah.
The answer is Tatsuro Taira. We can talk later.
Well, it could be, but score-wise, Maddalena is averaging 114.3 over his 4 wins. His lowest scoring fight, I believe, is higher than any Tatsuro Taira score. I'm not sure, but we'll get to that. But it's pretty close. 114.3. I mean, the guy just knows how to get it done early. And now he's fighting a debutant who's got, a handful of fights, and he's on short notice. Like, historically, it's Jack Della Maddalena. What's Taira's number? 106 on average, 107 if we're rounding up per win. So I'm going to take Maddalena. I love Taira as well. Don't get me wrong. Another one of my favorite prospects overall, but I'm taking Maddalena if I've got to choose between these three.
I think my tiebreaker is no one's going to play Taira. But anyway, Geek, who you got?
You're correct in the sense that the ownership will be lowest on Tatsuro, so great. And he's a crazy grappler. That's awesome. JDM minus 300 under 1.5 rounds. Knockdown, put it in the books. 20 strikes, put it in the books. Maybe first round finish. You're talking about a range of 110 to 150 fantasy points. If he gets even crazier, I don't know that the upside is beyond like 120, or if he gets the fast finish, maybe we're looking at a 125. So yeah, I mean, we're just working the numbers. Bo Nickal looks like 100, maybe 105, doesn't do a whole lot when he gets the takedown. If it goes to round 2, you're screwed, right? JDM, even if he gets to round 2 and knockdown finish, but lands a ton of volume, maybe a knockdown in round 1, he's getting there, right? And so between these two, I am going to go with Della Maddalena. And of course, we'll get to Tatsuro when we get there. But one thing I can tell you on this card is you are not playing. You're probably not playing 2 of these guys, and you might not need even one of them. So these are lock button wins. This is a card where we have absolute stone cold lead pipe lock button 100-point wins. Lock them in.
And you're like,
which is so crazy because the last 7 cards we've had, there has been not a single favorite where you're like, is this guy definite? I don't know. For the most part, we've had a lot of cards with these minus 200s that we weren't sure, even at the highest favorites, if they were even going to win. Here, I think, minus 1,000. We got a winner here, and we're just trying to figure out, okay, who's going to be higher owned. I definitely like JDM above Bo Nickal in terms of my guess of who will score more points. And I think you're right as well. Tatsuro will be in the mix as a lower owned potential to outscore even both of those guys.
All right, next fight up, Yasmin Jauregui. I can't say her name. Jauregui. There we go. I got it. Butchered the shit out of that. Taking on Denise Gomes plus 310. Jauregui, by the way, is minus 410, 9,300 on DK. Gomes 6,900. This is the fight I alluded to earlier. Jauregui, I think, will win. 9,100 is a little bit too much on this card for the person with the lowest inside the distance prop. And Denise Gomes actually is kind of a step up from the girl she has been fighting. Gomes is probably overmatched here, and if she wins, I still don't think she hits the optimal. So I'm really down in this fight, just all over the place. I think Jauregui is better. Pretty much wherever the fight goes, I think she's a little better everywhere. A little better standing, a little better grappling, just a little bit better everywhere. I don't think she scores massive. This could be if this is the spot that blows, you have to make stands at some point. I don't think this is the spot to blow me up. If it does, it kind of does. I'll be under, but Yasmin is my pick for this one. Geek, what you got?
It's going to be hard to be under when you're looking at a fight that Yasmin is going to be completely unowned. So let's just let's just start right there. Like
higher or lower than 8% in the big GPP.
Monk is saying higher. Okay, well I'll give her about 9 to 10%.
That's about where I was. That's why I said it at 8. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
So I mean, there's no reason to roster her. First of all, D Nice, as she prefers being called. She's a dog. Like, she's tough, man. She'll tough it out. This fight is lined to go to decision. So she's tough. It's over 2.5 rounds. I don't like taking shots on female fighters, especially ones that don't wrestle that much, priced above 9K. Like, there's just a whole set of reasons why Yasmin is not on the top of my list of people I want to play on this card. I like her. She's badass. But, like, at the same time, who the hell has she even fought? Like, we think she's probably seems better just a little bit, but, it's not like I have an example of her beating somebody who I've ever heard of. Estela Nunes is not that person. Like, her wins have come against zeros. So I don't know. Right. And Denise, for any issues you have with her, has looked, I would say, acceptable in a fight against Luma Lukbumi. She looked at UFC level caliber anyway, and I don't think we know. So I'm going with the underdog on this one. It's dog or pass for me. There's no way I'm paying $9,300 for a female fighter that doesn't have takedowns and isn't lined to win inside of this. I know, Monk, you love the ladies. He loves the ladies. But for me, I'm fading. Even the 10%, I think I'm just going to fade it. There's too many 100+ lock buttons, even cheaper than this. Like, what? I'm playing her over Moreno? No. I'm playing her over Volk? What are you, nuts? Hell no. So what are we really talking about? I'll play the underdog if I play anything from this fight, and I think the underdog is a perfectly acceptable punt.
What do you think, Monk?
Well, excuse me. Well, I do like the ladies, that's for sure. Women's flyweight is where it is. So I need like 10 more pounds on this frame. All right. These are the straw weights. I don't really know, man. I mean, Jauregui, what are you going to get from her? She scored 129 points after basically trying to give away the first round against Nunes. 129 points at straw weight. And then Yasmin Lucindo, she scored 65. So I have no idea what to do here. Denise Gomes lost to Loma Lukbumi 32 points. Then she scored 131 against Bruna Brazil, everyone's favorite prospect that week. So who the fuck knows what to do here? I'm going to actually side with caution and do exactly what you said, Geek. I'm just going to fade this. There's no way. Like you said, it's 93. What is she? 93? 9,300. Holy Jesus.
Play that.
You would save $100 and play Volk. What are we? Yeah. To quote you, what are we even talking about? I don't mind Gomes. I've seen some takes on Twitter this week that make me think that people really are searching for the dog a little too much, and so they're going with Gomes. I'm on the Jauregui side. For DraftKings, though, I mean, this betting line this betting line is out of hand. -400 on Jauregui for a women's strawweight fight. If you bet this fight, you're an insane person. I guess you can play Gomez a little bit, but I don't think she's going to win. So what are we doing with our salary? Just play somebody else.
Nice. Next fight up, I'm really looking forward to this fight, and I think it's the most important fight on the card to target. Actually, I don't remember where I ranked it. It's towards the top. There might be one higher, but Jimmy Crute, and it's because high prop, and it's that mid salary that Geek is searching for. Jimmy Crute, -120, 8,200 on DraftKings. Alonzo Menifeld, +100, 8,000 on DraftKings. They fought to a draw last time because Alonzo Menifeld grabbed the cage. And you know what? Rightfully so, a point was taken away because Crute was going to sit on top of him and beat the shit out of him. Instead, to me, this fight comes down to what is Jimmy Crute going to do. Jimmy Crute decides to grapple. He likely wins, puts up a big number, dominates Menifeld. If he thinks for a second, hey, I'm going to stay and trade with this guy, I'm going to get one back, I'm going to set anything up. Every second Crute is on the feet, he is in mortal danger. Mortal danger. I think I did underestimate Menifeld last time out. I still think the path to victory is clear for Crute. It's just how smart is Jimmy Crute? What's his fight IQ? We're going to find out quick, fast, and in a hurry. Great GPP fight to target. No problem playing both sides. I lean towards the Crute side, but I'm going to have, as I like to say, a metric fuck ton of this fight. Geek, you're chomping at the bit. Who you got?
So I don't fully agree with what you said in terms of like what Jimmy Crute is going to decide to do and so on and so forth, because Jimmy Crute's definitely going to try to grapple because he's going to be getting his ass kicked when they're standing. He will absolutely try to grapple. So in the first fight, what happened was Menifeld was just very he was very shifty and he was able to get back up. Crute would take him down. Alonso would get back up. And that's part of the problem. When Alonso is fresh early in the fight, he will be able to get back up from the Crute takedown and get it to standing and have striking exchanges where he will be winning the shit out of those exchanges. Crute will go for another takedown and the cycle will continue until they both kind of start to gas. Like the first fight, I think this goes exactly how the first fight went. Neither one of these guys has evolved at all. They're going to do the same exact dance, which means, for as long as Crute is not sleeping, he's going to be trying to go for takedowns because he'll stand for a second, get his ass kicked and be like, oh, I don't like that. Let's go for takedown. Now, Crute was almost knocked out multiple times in the first fight. But the only reason Menifeld didn't get the finish was because he had very bad fight IQ. Like he had him done and would just like jump on top of him and start. I don't know what the hell he was doing. Quite honestly, I was like, what is this guy doing? He's got him finished. And now you're giving him a break by grappling with Jimmy Crute, which was just so stupid. But like, if he doesn't do those mistakes again, Menifeld will win this fight. He's going to get taken down. He will, but he's going to be shifty. He's going to pop back up. They're going to have a striking exchange, and he's going to look really good. And then Crute will take him down again. And here we go. And now both of them are going to start to gas. And I don't know which one gasses a little quicker. I would say in the first fight, it looked like Crute was gassing, but then you kind of saw, oh, no. Alonso, he seems more gas now. By the end of the second, it was Alonso who seemed more gas. And then the third round, we saw how it went. So I don't know, because effectively, this could go, this is lined correctly. Maybe Alonso gets the knockout before he gasses late in the second round. And that's how it ends. And if that doesn't go that way, Crute will probably find a way to win the fight, dominating with the grappling in round 3. And he should win round 1 as well, at least. And then it comes down to, again, it goes back to, are these those type of judges that prefer the striking exchanges? Because a lot of the fights we've seen a fighter get dominated with grappling. But when they're standing, that guy dominates the striking, and then they give the striker the round. So we could see judges taking a big part of this one. So I think the other thing, and Monk, the numbers part of it, so we just have to look at the numbers and say, all right, this fight plays exactly or similar to last time. Menifeld, he got 2 knockdowns, scored 58. With the draw. If you gave him the 30-point decision, I wouldn't count decision. I think if he's winning in a second round or late first round finish. He should score well if he wins. And Crute should not do any better than what he did in the first fight, which is 6 takedowns, 63 fantasy points. You give him the decision there, you're up to 93. So I'm picking Alonso, mainly because while I fully agree that Crute will take him down at will, Alonso showed that he's shifty enough to pop back up. Crute did not have the ability to control him on the ground in round 1. If he gets back up, I usually pick the grapplers in these situations, but for the purpose of this show, I'm going to pick Menifeld to get that finish this time because all he needed to do last time was not be stupid. Will he be stupid again? I don't know. But if you watch that fight, you'll see what I mean.
Monk, what you got?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I think it plays out a lot the same, just like Geek said. I'll be on the Menifeld side at 8K, and Jimmy Crute can't hold anybody down. I mean, he took Menifeld down 6 times, Anthony Smith 3 times. He took Michael Oleksiejczuk down 8 times, and he got up 7 of those times before he got subbed. So while that does suck, it's good for DraftKings. It's really good for DraftKings if that formula happens because it's 5 points, 5 points, 5 points, 5 points over and over, and we love to see that. Crute, however, has one of the worst chins, around in this area of the rankings for sure. I'm just leaning Menifeld here at 8K. I think it plays out a lot the same. The last thing I'll say about this is this fight shouldn't even be happening. This should be an Alonso Menifeld 2-1. Like, how many times do we see guys get kneed and downed opponents, no point taken? Now we get fingers, 2 knuckles.
No. Hold on, time.
I know it changed the fight. It changed the whole fight. That's fine. We've seen this shit before, and nothing happens. And if we get
Oh,
no
wait.
warning out of nowhere.
I got a perfect example for you. How about Tim Means beats Alex Oliveira by an illegal knee, no contest. They run that back, and Alex Oliveira whoops the piss out of him. Like,
Sure.
Like, it happens.
I'm just saying,
as somebody who likes grappling, defense grabs make me crazy. Because it's so hard to. I know if you've ever tried to take somebody down, it's fucking hard. And to have all that taken away by somebody grabbing a cage is.
We've seen eye pokes that go knuckles deep, and then the fight is stopped, and no point is taken before that. It goes to like a technical decision. It's like, what are we doing? There's no consistency.
Usually, they don't take the point away for that fence grab, and because it's so inconsistent, I would suggest, and this is just an MMA change in rule, they should not take a point when you catch the fence grab. You should reposition them on the ground with the person who grabbed the fence on his back and the other one in guard. That's what they should do. It's an unfair thing that they choose. We watched a fight. I think the one I was at, right, 2 weeks ago when I was at the championship, one of the fights had like 5 fence grabs, and he just kept grabbing them. He's like, don't grab the fence. Stop grabbing the fence. And like, he kept doing it. And I'm like, what the fuck? Alonso grabbed the fence once. They took a point. This guy had 5 fence grabs, and they never took a point. I was like, what is happening? I think that guy still lost anyways. It didn't matter. But like, I was like, hey, what is the fair application of this rule? It's not fair. Put him on his back. Sniper, put him on his back.
I don't hate that. I'm fine with that. It'd be interesting to see if something gets done about that at some point.
Put him on his back.
Moving on, we have Edgar Chairez. I'm going to go ahead and go with that. Plus 725, DraftKings 6,600. Taking on my favorite prospect on the card, Tatsuro Taira. Minus 1,100, 9,600 on DraftKings. Why do I love Taira? Because the man, like I just said, I love grappling. My man loves to grapple, and he's in the small division. I think he is legit. I like Taira a lot. I'm interested to see what he has here. I mean, Chairez, I think it's another short notice replacement. I just the grappling is going to be such an advantage here, and the reason why, look, the price tag is ridiculous. I like Taira for game theory purposes. Everyone's going to want to play Nickal and Della Maddalena, and I can save a little bit of money and play Taira. I'm going to take a look when I'm building lineups. The grappling should be too much here. I'm not going to beat the analysis into the ground on this one. Taira for the win. Monk, what are the stats say about my boy Tatsuro Taira?
Well, I love Taira, but what I said earlier is in fact true. Jack Della Maddalena's worst loss is worst low scoring win is 106.85, and Tatsuro's Taira's highest scoring win is 106.97. So virtually identical. But I think this is a kind of a Bo Nickal type scenario where in each fight we've seen Taira's strikes go down significantly. He landed 57 against Candelario. That was a decision. Second round win over Vergara, he landed 22, and against Aguilar, he did the Bo Nickal, 1 takedown, 1 submission, and then one strike landed, and then he hunted for a submission and eventually got it with 88% control time. But that doesn't really mean much when it's getting done in the first round. You're not going to accumulate a whole ton of points doing that. And he only scored 103 at his current salary of 9,600, and he did not make the optimal lineup that week. So I think this plays out a lot the same. I will be rooting hard for Taira. I can't wait to see who he actually gets to fight in his next fight. But I just the numbers don't add up for me as far as the price tag, and I'll still be favoring Maddalena over Taira. Maybe I'm wrong, and I won't have a problem with that because whoever scores better, I'm one of their biggest fans. But that's kind of how I'm going to play it.
Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to note that, like, if I'm nervous about Taira, it's probably with this against a striker who could stop a takedown, because then I'd be like, oh, what if Taira's like, his striking's not like that special, right? Like, it's fine and it's improving, but he seems to be much more of a grappler. But this guy, Chairez, is much more of a grappler too. So it's probably like better grappling against less good grappling here. And I think that actually, Monk, we might get maybe we'll see a slightly different dynamic here where, there's a get up, there's a retake down and some of that. But, Della Maddalena looks better if I'm paying all the way up here than Taira. So Taira becomes that GPP pivot. It's 9,600. I don't think we need to absolutely spend this on Taira. I do not see a 30 or a 60-second win coming. And as I look down the salary chart There's someone named Volkanovski who I can play, and there's other names here at 9K like Petrino that look like he's going to get a finish fast. So there are other fighters that I think can outscore him. I think on this card with so much firepower, you are effectively losing ammunition by paying 9,600, 9,700, 98, any of those guys. You're giving up so much ammo. You must get the 60-second or the 120 plus in order for this to get you there. I don't know. I think it's super risky to assume you're going to get a 120, which is so nuts because normally you give me 100, lock it in. This is pretty much a 100-point lock, and I still probably don't need it.
Real quick, lastly, as far as his ownership, last I entered odds right before the show. Maddalena's cumulative odds is minus 982. Crazy. Taira's at minus 1027. So as far as the casuals go, if you're just playing odds, Taira's ownership might be higher than we think.
It's possible. And he grapples. Everybody loves a grappler.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting. Be interesting.
Where were these fights the last few? Why do they jam all of these crazy high favorites?
Well,
these aren't
honestly, it was international fight. It was international fight week. They had, they wanted to put on a big card, and then people started dropping. Like that's what happened.
Ridiculous.
All right, we're moving on to this is the fight. This is the fight that I think is sneakily super important. I think everyone's flocking to the main card. Vitor Petrino, minus 300 on DraftKings, 9,000. Marcin Prachnio, plus 250. DraftKings, 7,200. For me, in terms of picks, and the reason why I think it's so important, I love Vitor Petrino. You got a guy who can just nuke people and grapple against somebody with no chin who can't grapple. Okay, this seems like a problem, and he's only 9,000 flat. To me, Vitor Petrino is my core play on the card. I love me some Petrino, and I'm praying everybody just goes and plays Volkanovski and Della, Maddalena and Nickal, and they can't get to Vitor Petrino. I don't think DFS MMA is that soft. I mean, it can be soft at times like last week, but please, MMA gods, let Vitor Petrino go under own because I love him in this spot.
Yeah, Petrino only ever that I saw grappled in his last fight. Like before that, he was just knocking everybody out. And I almost thought like he was grappling just to show he could do it a little bit in that fight against
Pleasure Man.
Who was it?
The Pleasure Man.
Anton Turkalj, who goes by the Pleasure Man.
The creepy motherfucker. I remember that, and I was like, anybody called the Pleasure Man is not winning a fight. Remember that? That was my big analysis for that one.
So creepy.
Petrino is a bad mother. Shut your mouth. Okay, this guy throws crazy fist, and what does Marcin Prachnio like to do? He loves to get knocked out. This fight is minus 140 under 1.5 rounds. Petrino has the grappling if he needs it. Probably won't. Has it if he needs it, though, and will be the superior grappler, will be the superior striker, will be a finisher against the guy who loves to get finished. 9K and as much scoring potential, if not more, than anybody or some of these much more expensive fighters. There's nothing. You're spot on. Last week, my core play was Rinat Farkadinov. My favorite play on the card. Crushed it. Had him in every lineup. I love Petrino as well. I think we are having a Petrino love fest on the kill shot.
Like last week, who was Renai? Who was the kill shot that you stole from me last week, Monk? Who ended up crushing? Grant
Dawson.
Grant Dawson. That's who we were all about. Grant Dawson on the pod last week, and that's
love Dawson too.
For me, I'll be quick. I like Petrino a lot. I mean, you guys broke it down perfectly. I think this kid is, could end up being something special. I'm hoping. However, he did get taken down 5 times by the Pleasure Man. Also, 12 takedowns total in that fight. Just kind of mind blowing. If you're watching his tape kind of before that, I think you have to play him. I think at 9K, you just gotta play him. You just have to. You got to work him in there. I know you don't want to. I know you want to go up and pay up for these guys, but you have to leave space for Vitor Petrino. And honestly, what you guys said about Prachnio is 100% true. 4 fights lost in the UFC, 4 finish losses, 3 of them, or no, maybe not 3 of them. Some of them in the first round, I think. We don't have to get into that. It doesn't matter.
Just pointing out his wins. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Willie Knight, who doesn't throw strikes anymore. That's not a real win.
Oh, God.
8 strikes were landed against him. 8.
That was just horrible to watch. Ike Villanueva. Do we remember who that is? He is like the worst UFC fighter that we've ever seen. And the shocker was the Khalil Roundtree loss, which everybody bet Roundtree to knock him the win. Everybody expected Roundtree to knock him out in 2 seconds. That was a weird one, admittedly, but if this goes weird like the Roundtree fight, you got me. I don't think I'm going to play Prachnio at all.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think Prachnio is actually worth a dart throw, only because we've seen this play out several times recently, where a young guy with hype who's 1-0 in the UFC looked great against some dude. Comes against a guy in the UFC that has 5, 6, 7 fights, and everybody's on him, and it does not go well. So I think Prachnio is worth just a dart throw, but I love Petrino here.
Fair.
Fight number 12 on the card. Cameron Saaiman. He is minus 550. 9,400 on DraftKings. Terrence Mitchell plus 400. DraftKings on 6,800. You can see, if you look at the picture, Terrence Mitchell has been in UFC shorts before. That was on Tough where Kai Kara France snuffed him out. Look, Terrence Mitchell is a Alaska can crusher. He's in the Alaska regional scene where he crushes cans. That's what he does. I'd be interested maybe to see him in like the opening fight of the night against not a big prospect. And honestly, I said this in my notes, I'm kind of looking for an opportunity to fade Cameron Saaiman. I'm not sure I believe yet. You put him in there against somebody real and he beats me and proves me wrong, sure, I can reevaluate. But I'm kind of waiting to see him fight somebody real because he struggled against okay competition. I was looking forward to fading him, and now I can't because he's going to smash Terrence Mitchell. It's just a matter of how expensive he is. I don't know how much Cameron Saaiman I can justifiably play because he doesn't seem like that killer quick finisher. So I like him. I just don't like the scoring potential. Monk, what do the numbers say about his scoring? I'm curious.
His scoring looks great, actually. Top 3 as far as points per minute, 5 points a minute. 5.07 to be exact, 111.6 per win, which is good enough for 6th on the card. I agree completely. You're looking for a spot to fade this kid. This is not the time against a dude whose nickname is Tear Bear, so he makes terrible decisions. If you don't want to play 98, 97, or 96, this is the spot. I mean, how many lineups are going to start with Saaiman and say Petrino? I think you've got a decent little upside there. Do your tape, obviously, but Cameron Saaiman could come out here and just smash this dude. Short notice because he was supposed to fight C-Rod, which would have been a good little fight and a possible fade opportunity that you were mentioning, Snipe. But this one, not so much. 94. I'm not going to go out of my way to get to it, like I said, but I think it's a decent pivot if you're not down with the super chalk, as we'll call it this week.
Yeah, I was probably going to bet Christian Rodriguez at a decent dog number.
I would have liked
no
him
loss for me.
Yep.
Yes, I am.
Minus,
Kevin, you got it.
minus 175, the fight to go under 1.5 rounds. Again, going back to the Petrino fight, this is even higher odds of a fast finish. If you watch the Terrence Mitchell tape, you don't even have to actually watch the fighting. You just watch the camera and the horrible quality of the video, and you're like, where is this taking place? And then you look at the opponent. It's the Alaska Fighting Championship stuff. You look at the opponents. These are like 1 and 2, the 2, 3 and 1, like just garbage opponents. There's no evidence here that this guy is not a UFC fighter, is even a Bellator, an LFA fighter. He's not even an LFA fighter. There's no evidence of any of that. And he's old. This isn't a young prospect. This is a 33-year-old guy. So, I mean, if he was 21, I'm interested. 33? No. I mean, you're beating 4-1 and 4-2, and then you're in the UFC. That's just a guy who's up here. Now, what is interesting is, what if this is the guy who gets knocked out in 60 seconds? So no one's going to play Super Saaiman, but there's some GPP upside in playing him just in case he does it at low ownership. So it's just an ownership play. The numbers say minus 175, under 1.5 rounds. I don't think Mitchell is somebody that we need to worry about on this card. I don't even think Saaiman is a great fighter or even a very good fighter, but I think we're talking about a guy who has wins in the UFC against a guy who probably still should have done a couple of other. He needed to go through. He hasn't even been to the minor league. He's in the majors before ever really going to the minors. What do you think is going to happen here? It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, it's probably going to be
Sniper. Put him in combate for a couple of fights, something.
He could be in Fury. He can go to Fury FC.
Yeah, a little bit of Fury, something.
All right, let's go to now. What's interesting, we're on these. I need everybody else. You got to lock in here because his last two fights is a long podcast, but I got back-to-back dog picks coming up. This is where I think your underdog money can be made. We got Shannon Ross plus 120. He's 7,600 on DraftKings. Jesus Aguilar minus 145, 8,600 on DraftKings. This is just going to be. I think Aguilar's going to try and get this fight to the ground. I don't think he's going to be able to, and I think Shannon Ross will be good on the feet and can land some damage here. And it's another fight that's high inside the distance number. It's one of those. The reasons why. Think of it this way: is everyone to just play the dog in women's MMA because women's MMA is less developed and there's more variance. It's the same thing with low-level men's MMA. You don't really know yet. They're not as known quantities. And it's one of those, I like what I've seen from Shannon Ross. Neither one of these guys has looked particularly stellar in their UFC run so far. Jesus Aguilar lost to Taira last time out. I get it. And before that, he was on the Contender Series.
Can't give him too hard of a time for that loss.
Right. But he has even as regionally, he didn't look that great. Whereas I got Shannon Ross, who lost to Cleison Rodriguez and Benicio Salvador. Those are two legitimate losses. And he had moments on the Contender Series, and he showed toughness against Benicio Salvador. And that's something you want to usually highlight. But he got knocked down 3 times. It's one of those where I think he can stop the takedowns and turn it into a brawl. And in that brawl setting, I like Shannon Ross. Now, if Aguilar can get takedowns, he'll win the fight and he'll score decent. So it's also a situation where the prelims, there's usually less ownership. I'm interested there. But in terms of dogs I'm picking, I got Pantoja. I got the guy we're going to talk about here in a minute. I'll save that fight. And Shannon Ross, probably my third dog on the card. But totally live. Monk, you can go first for this one. What you got? Yeah.
I agree. This fight seems like a shit show. I'm a stats guy, and the stats here are so ugly. It's probably not even worth mentioning. I mean, less than half a point per minute from each of these guys individually.
Someone's got to win.
Exactly. Someone has to. Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll see a fence grab, and Mark Goddard will be the ref. So we'll see about that. But yeah, someone's got to win here. And you nailed it. Low level, high variance fights. I mean, I'm taking a dog shot. That's how I'm going to play this for DraftKings. I guess if it goes to the ground, Aguilar with his 6 submissions. If we're doing MMA math, Ross just comes off a submission to Cleison Rodriguez, in which he gave up, I think it was upwards of 130 freaking points. It was something crazy.
He only gave up 1 strike landed.
Yeah.
Or it was something ridiculous. He just got knocked out in a second.
Yeah, he gave up. Yeah, it was ridiculous. But 2 low-level dudes. I don't trust Shannon Ross at all, but I also don't trust Jesus Aguilar. I'll have some of both sides of this, and since one is 7,600 and one is 86, I'm going to have more of the 76 guy. But, yeah, this seems like a complete shit show that could somehow accidentally land itself on the optimal lineup.
I think here fight style is important to explain and just understand that what we are dealing with what appears to be very much a striker versus grappler matchup here, and that is normally I'd be running from the hills from Shannon Ross. I don't think he's a UFC caliber fighter, but sometimes styles make fights, and Jesus Aguilar is very much just a grappler. He wants to get it to the ground. I don't see a whole lot of him wanting to keep it standing. He doesn't seem like he's going to be the guy who's going to knock somebody out. Of course, Shannon Ross makes everybody look great, but if he can stop a takedown, which I don't know, but if he could, then and keep the standing, he does seem like the more aggressive and maybe the better stand-up striker. Again, the tape I've seen of Aguilar is he wants to go for a takedown and submit you. I like fighters like that. I think he could score well. And so for DraftKings purposes, I don't think this fight will be super high owned. I definitely don't think Aguilar is going to be high owned. I think he's going to be super low owned because everybody's dying for an underdog. And we're like, hey, you know what, Shannon Ross, he throws a lot of strikes and he's got a good takedown. He shows 100% takedown defense, although that's a bit of a fake number. I don't think he's got some killer takedown defense. I just think he got knocked out so fast in his fights. He hasn't, maybe he thwarted one takedown in his UFC career and got the 100% mark. But, I mean, Vinicius, 3 knockdowns against this guy. Kletzen finishes him in 2 seconds. I think maybe even the grappler, Jesus Aguilar, can finish him with strikes. That's how bad I think Shannon Ross's chin probably is. So I'm going to go with Jesus. I'm going to let Jesus take the wheel on this one, as they say.
God.
I went there. There.
Cringe.
Let Jesus take the wheel. No one's going to play him. Everybody's going to play Shannon Ross. And I'm going to go the opposite way because I think that's how you win the tournament.
When there was only one set of footprints in the sand, that's when Jesus was carrying me to the bet cashing window.
There we go. Amen. Hallelujah.
Last fight. Kirk plus 125, 7,700 taking on Esteban Ribovics. Minus 145. He's 8,500 on DraftKings. Give me another dog shot because I got another grappler against the guy I am not sold on in Ribovics. And that's really what it comes down to. Can Ribovics stop the takedowns? And I like last fight. It's kind of how you have to approach.
You know what?
Striker versus grappler matchups. Can Shannon Ross stop
his
takedowns?
Loss,
yeah.
His loss to Loic has not aged well at all.
No, it has not. But it's, again, stylistically. Can A stop takedown? Shannon Ross, I kind of think yes. I think he'll win. I don't think Ribovics can. I just give me the grappler here. And yeah, maybe I'm reaching a little bit for dogs here. But again, it's these low-level dogs that I'm going to take a shot on versus where I'd rather just – do you want to play Esteban Ribovics or do you want to find a few $100 and play Vitor Petrino? I know the answer for me. So give me the grappling of Kirk, and that's where I'm going to take my stand. Geek, is this one where you're going to go the opposite just because you think same thing? People like me will be reaching for a dog and bang away?
I actually went back, and the further back you go in Kamuela Kirk's like fight tape, the better he looked. He looked better earlier on. The Swain fight, he looked good. The Santos fight, again, he looked good. Those aren't that great of opponents. But I like Kamuela. I like Kamuela Kirk here for exactly those reasons. Like Ribovics is nasty on the feet. I'll give it to him. But like he's terrible at takedown defense. And while you didn't see the grappling from Kirk in the Damon Jackson fight, for example, Damon just put a beating on him. But Damon's a good fighter. Damon going to put a beating on Ribovics too. So can't take too much away on that. Billy Quarantillo puts the beating on Kamuela. Billy Quarantillo puts a beating on Esteban Ribovics too. So, you know what I mean? I like Kirk here as well. I think he looked pretty good. I think he has takedowns. I had to go back. Basically, I watched the tape just to try to figure that out because he wasn't grappling in the UFC fights very much. So I was like, did he do it before? Because Makwan, I get why you're not doing much grappling against him. You're just counter wrestling Makwan. And with Damon Jackson, he just took a beat down. So I was like, did he used to grapple? Does he have that skill set? And he does. He did it earlier in his career. He's got pretty decent striking from what I saw as well in some of that early tape. So I'm with you. I kind of and Esteban, while he's nasty on the feet, and he definitely could win this fight, you said it, like he needs to win it very quickly in order to pay off kind of a pay up for him. And it's not a pay up, but in order to just pay off as a favorite. And under 2.5 rounds, actually a pretty reasonable minus 180. Over 1.5 rounds, minus 145. So the odds makers are saying somewhere in the 2 rounds range for this fight. I think Kirk could win it.
Look, last fight for you. What do you got?
Kamuela Kirk kind of worries me. I did look at him as the underdog, but he has the lowest score in a win out of anybody on this entire card as he put up 58 against Makwan Amirkhani. Whether he's a good grappler or not, like you said, we have not seen it at all in the UFC, but that could be a function of his opponents, Makwan Amirkhani and Damon Jackson. But no takedowns landed so far, controlled 0%. 0% of the almost 10 minutes of the Damon Jackson fight, which seems very difficult to not even get a clinch against the cage for a second. Makwan Amirkhani, he controlled 10.5% of that fight. And his significant strikes per minute, 2.27 against Jackson and less than 2 against Makwan Amirkhani. So that worries me, and his 58 points as well. I think he's probably too expensive this week for my personal taste. I'm going to go with Ribovics, I guess. He didn't look great against Loic, and like you said, that did not age well. He gave up 11 freaking takedowns, but he did land about 4.5 points or strikes per minute and almost 50 in that loss. So at 8,500, he should be closer to 84 or 83 in my opinion, but DraftKings didn't want to give those salaries to us, so now he's 85, second cheapest favorite on the card. I'm going to go with him here just because I don't trust Kirk, but again, this seems like a low level affair. So give me Ribovics, but this is one I'm probably going to fade a little bit on DraftKings, to be honest. If I have to pick between this one and fight number 2, the Shannon Ross and whoever the fuck we talked about, I'm going with the second fight for sure.
Whoever the fuck we talked about. Fantastic.
Ross and whoever the fuck he's fighting.
All right, that's it for the fight-by-fight breakdown. So we got to do kill shots. Motherfucking kill shots. For anybody new, first of all, welcome. And what a kill shot is an under-owned play who could break the slate on DraftKings.
Must be an underdog.
Not a kill shot. Anybody in the main and co-main, not a kill shot. Got to be somebody sneaky type of GPP play. Geek, since you were on vacation last week, you got to go first this week. Who you got?
So I'm going with Pantoja. I don't know if that's sneaky though. Is that the highest?
Nah, all
right. Throw that one out. Fine. Then in that case, and I think this will be sneakier. So I'm going with Hooker.
That's sneaky. That qualifies as sneaky.
I don't think he's gonna be high owned. I was gonna go D Nice just for the fact that I think she's gonna score at 6,900. She might be the best scoring fighter in that range in a loss. But you know what? I think Hooker can get the win. I think if Hooker gets the win, he will be in the nuts. So give me some Dan Hooker, Hangman.
Monk, tell us why you love Valentine Woodburn.
Maybe another time. We'll see. We'll save that conversation for when I can have several drinks, probably. Yeah, this one, I'm looking for a kill shot. I'm looking for a low-owned guy, somebody that nobody wants to play because maybe he's retiring, but that has gigantic freaking upside, baby. And that's Ruthless Robbie Lawler. Let's get the name right here. Ruthless Robbie Lawler. At 7,300, this dude could have like 15 value in my dreams in the first round. Knockout win of Nico Price. He rides off into the sunset, and we're celebrating with a 115-point victory from the 41-year-old. So give me Robbie Lawler and my delusions to go along with it.
I kind of gave away where I'm going.
I purposely left you your kill shot, by the way. I allowed you to keep it.
Well, now I hope I take the right guy, because I will say I want to, just to make a point. This is not I want to bang home Vitor Petrino the point that's who you should be playing in this 9K range. But I did say in the pod last week that I was going to go back to the underdog because I took Grant Dawson and kind of pick him and got off brand a little bit. But it's worth it on occasion. I felt good about it. So I can go 1B. Let's say, just don't forget Vitor Petrino. He's who, is probably my straight up over the field kill shot. In terms of dogs over the field, we just talked about it, Kamala Kirk. And
I thought you were going to go Shannon Ross.
No. Shannon Ross is probably right behind that. I like the grappling of Kirk.
All right, there it is.
You know me, I got to go grapplers. Anybody who can grapple gives, does a little something for me.
I like it.
That's what we got for International Fight Week 290. If you're still here, thank you very much. Click that like button. Subscribe. All the members. We'll see you guys in Discord. Chop it up there. Make sure you are a member. If you're not, those links are down below. Guys, this was fun. I am looking forward to making some money this week. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
Just be wary or aware of the weirdness of the salaries as you're building your lineups. Because of the gap in salary, I think things like, obviously taking some shots on some dogs that you might not, going with a really cheap Denise Gomes type decision fight, sub 7K. You could see a winner with a 40-point loss in the lineup potentially if things go a certain way. And be careful. I mean, everything we talked about on the pod, you got to be careful with those payups. We've got probably 6 or 7 lock button 100-point scorers.
You know what we have a potential for, which it's just dawned on me, is let's say you got let's just say Bo Nickal and who else way up there? Jack Della Maddalena and Tatsuro Taira. Let's just say, hypothetically, they all go fucking bananas and put up 135, 140. Like just quick finishes, multiple knockdown, whatever it may be, just banana scores. Then you're in the situation where somebody down at the bottom, like Gomes, could score 30 points in a win and is more optimal than somebody $600 more who got 80 points in a decent win. But no, all the big names go fucking off, and you have to have them.
We've
I
seen
didn't even
more.
consider that possibility.
It doesn't even need to be all the big names. It could be Petrino. It could be, 9K guy, 8,800 guy. Like there are so many paths to big scores on a lot of these fights, especially the ones you got to pay up for, that there is absolutely a version where you just play somebody super cheap or one of the main eventers that doesn't win, and you still get there. I think Pantoja is probably the most important fighter on this entire card. I think Pantoja scores like 60 in a loss if he loses.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think this is the week, I'll do you one better, where we see a loser on the optimal lineup, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's Yair Rodriguez or Alejandro Pantoja.
That's what I'm saying. So we're all on board with the same thought. So I love it. Great minds think alike. Good luck, everyone. Let's crush it this week. Let's get back to the winning ways after my DFS championship disaster.
Well, we didn't see it last week. You were on vacation, but I mean, most of us had a profitable week. We threw up. I mean, there was a big tie up top, but we had a couple ties mixed in up there. So we were, trucking along the DFS Army, bigger prize pools.
I need to get back. I need to get back because I took the whole week off. I did barely.
I need to see some screenshots from you, Geek, and we'll celebrate them here next week. And I'll see everybody watching. We'll see you guys next week. Later, guys.